Hey, Valerie.
Hey, Jim. Oh, is it Missy or Jim?
It's Macy.
Missy, you look like Jim.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Jim back. Yeah.
How are you guys doing?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Good, thanks. And thanks for sending the deal over, Trevor.
Oh,
We'll wait until you get your updated information. I thought we are done. We are ready to send you the check, and then you're changing the goalpost.
I know. We're close. I know it's hard.
What check for the deal you're in?
Yes, yes. These kindly agreed to invest.
Oh, congrats.
Well, based on one more piece of paper.
That's good. That's good.
Somebody new, Shaka. Let's see, who's Shaka? There he is.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Great.
Awesome. Shaka, I've met you in the past. I think some of these members in the meeting haven't. Would you like to do a introduction of yourself?
Sure. Shaka Helms from Columbus, Ohio. Passively invested in a deal in Georgia, currently looking for my first GP deal. Markets are Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Georgia, and Alabama.
I see.
So how many deals have you done as a GP, Shaka, or you're just...
Still looking for my first GP. I mean, I'm working with a team for the more of the Columbus, North Carolina market right now, but and put up some LOIs and everything like that, but this ain't nothing landed right now. And as far as my day job, I work for a construction management company.
Nice. So you're in the business.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, Daryl.
Hello, how are you?
Good seeing you. I'm good. How are you?
Sonia looks like a rainbow.
What is it?
I said Sonia looks like a rainbow.
Where is Sonia? Let me see.
I mean, she had a picture of a rainbow. Never mind. Bad joke.
She'll come up soon and she'll be green. Look at, she's green and then she turns black.
You know, I know, but the green is because the money's all inside.
The
money's to be coming is green. Hello from Cali. The rainbow. I like that one.
That's awesome. So for today, if anyone has topics, we can talk about it. I also had a for the book, raising real estate capital raising book. I also had a presentation summary of one part from a while ago. We didn't get a chance to go over as well. I just have to find it, but how's everything going? Are you guys doing any deals, involved in any deals? I know Trevor, how are you doing? Trevor is on in a speaking bus. He's speaking everywhere. He's gonna be speaking at my Walmart Investor Club this Friday. From his as a passive investor. I think it's a really powerful story that he has there. If you guys
thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to be able to present to your group. I'm working on my slide deck now. PowerPoint is not my skill set.
No, I think it looked great. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm working on it, and yeah, so Angel's doing way better than I am on the capital raising. I'm not even halfway to my goal, so I've been sending a bunch of emails and following up with people today. So there's a few more people I got to chase up, but I'm gonna get there. I just got to keep going at it.
Nice.
Hey, Missy, did you say Walmart? You said your Walmart group?
Yeah, I work at Walmart. I have a Walmart real estate investment club.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right.
In there, yeah.
Yeah, right. And I'm the guest speaker this Friday.
Yeah, so yeah, it should be good. Yes. Yeah. So that I'm also in the process. I'm warming up my investors in the process of telling them about another deal that the Fairwinds has. It's they bought something in auction. I'm gonna help them, and I think it's a good deal, and I like them as a team. Um, there may be something else going on later in the year, in another month or so as well. So I'm trying to do it where I finish the smaller race with Fairwinds, and then if I go into any other races. Are you guys going to any conferences? Yeah. Yeah. So there was a Houston deal that's 506C, and there's another deal that's 506B that they have. Yeah. But they're
Yes,
talking
so I'm
about.
doing Jake and Gino in a couple of weeks in Orlando, Florida. So excited about that. Never been
Same
before.
here.
I
Yep,
hear
I'm
there's
going to
like
that one.
100 people going. It's going to be crazy.
Good. Anybody else going?
I'm
Yeah,
really not very familiar with these conferences. Can someone tell me what the Jake and Gino is?
So
I know
Jake
there'll
and
probably be
Gino's
Jake and Gino there, but what is this conference?
So Jake and Gino is a mentorship program. It's two guys that got together. One guy used to own a pizza shop, and the other guy did a little bit of real estate. And they've got a mentor program. They've got quite a good number of students, like several hundred students. They mostly take down smaller deals. And so it's a combination of them, of course, trying to sign. So it's a combination of people in their program to get together, selling other people about their program, and for me, just straight networking and meeting people. Some mentorship programs are closed loop. Jake and Gino is not closed loop, which means they can do deals with anybody. But if you're a student of Sumrock program, for example, you're really supposed to deal only with Sumrock students or your lifestyles. So Jake and Gino I just like their energy. It's a good group.
I see. So are there networking sessions and educational sessions typically in these
So
conferences?
most of the work is done in the hallways, in the social setting. You get there Friday night. I've already got a bunch of people to meet up with, and then you just decide, are you going to sit in a session or sit outside and talk to people?
Okay. Hey, Trevor, if you know Jake or Gino personally, do you mind an email introduction? Or if you don't?
I don't know them personally, but I'll try to get to know. I've been commenting a lot on their Facebook, so they'll know me soon. I stalk people, and so you know who I am once I start stalking you. And so I've been stalking them coming up to this conference. Anybody who's posted they're going there, like Gary Lipsky's going to be speaking. I tell them nice to see him, excited to go to Jake and Gino, and so I know right now there's somebody in India commenting on their Facebook page. It's not them, because they use these big VA services, but they'll eventually figure out it's me.
I see.
I'm very persistent.
You
Yeah,
are.
Trevor follows like everyone. Are you on social media all the time?
I know some people ask me if I sleep, and the answer is no. I just keep posting.
Yeah. So,
And
Trevor.
then in February, I'm doing best ever, and I know Hamid's doing that as well, and that's Joe Fairless.
Yeah. So, are you?
And cool thing, Joe Fairless is the first one to sign and invest in our deal. So he's kind of an advisor to Angel and Jason, but he was the first person to fill out his PPM, even with the errors that Badri's partner found. So now we got to go back and get him to do it again.
Where is that conference going to be held?
Joe Fairless is in
Colorado, right?
Colorado in February, so I ain't going outside. I'm gonna like order an Uber and wait for it inside and run out. It's gonna be cold.
Do you have the link to that?
It's just best. I can look for it and put it in the chat.
besteverconference.com. Yeah, we're going to be at that
Okay.
one also. And they're doing pre-conference mastermind sessions. I just was on one this morning where they're grouping participants, conference attendees together to do just general networking like this. And there was 6 of us, I think, in a room. So it was nice.
I've not heard of that. I need to look into that.
Yeah, I want to try to attend that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty well attended. How many people do you think go to the Jake and Gino one?
I heard so I met with a guy who's he's their asset manager for all the Jake and Gino owned properties in Austin at a meetup here. and he said that they passed 700.
Wow.
And people signed up.
Dang, I should have put that on the list. I don't think I can do it now.
Yeah, it's 22nd to 25th. Yeah,
The next
should be
week.
fun. Yeah, I don't have any meetings arranged yet, but we need to get that a little bit
Is
prearranged.
anybody planning to go to the Michael Blanc Dealmaker Live in Dallas in June or July?
It's so far out, I don't know yet.
Yeah. That one got expensive. He's like $900 or something.
Yeah,
It's, I mean,
it's yeah,
dropping the bucket considering, but it just seems, when everybody else is 400 or 500 or whatever.
yeah. Some
Yeah, he's
rocks.
raised his price up considerably over the years. And I mean, it's a good conference. I went in 2019.
Yes.
It's a good conference for sure. I mean, but like I say, he has then escalated his price for sure.
Yeah, Samrock did too. When my first conference was with Samrock, it was about $1,000.
Was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they see one person raise it, everyone's like trying to do price matching, market price, like how we raise rent. So yeah.
Yeah, there's probably a co-star for putting on conferences. What's the market price?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So anybody else doing deals, was about to get in deals, any learnings they want to share with what you have going on?
I want to hear from Daryl. Well, some of the deals he did in the past with raising and whatnot. Now you working? I know you closed something maybe a couple months ago, right, Daryl?
Yeah, 2 deals, Vicksburg and Augusta.
Yeah, and how was the raising on that one for you personally? As far as your
Rough.
raising.
It was rough.
Rough.
It was rough for me because I didn't have the time like everyone else had to raise the capital. So I learned a lot from coming in at the back end. Now I'm trying to rush to bring in 500,000, and so I would never do it again.
Oh yeah. So what will you do differently to try to help you, prepare for that next raise?
Well, the one thing now, if someone asks me to help them raise, I ask them when it's closing. Because if you tell me closing is in the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'm gonna say forget it. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But if I could come in like early on, where I have enough time, then heck yeah, I don't mind doing it. But if I only got like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I'm not going to do it. And that's what happened with the 2 deals that I'm on. I only had a couple of weeks to raise capital. Yeah, I may have raised capital, but could I? The question is, the question my mentor asked me was, could you have done better? And do you think that this could hurt you in the future with your investors? Every time you come into them, you're rushing.
Yeah.
So I had to take that into consideration, that I'm damaging myself, although I may be helping to raise. I could be damaging myself in the long run.
What I heard some other people would do is let's say if somebody told you today there's a deal and you really like the deal, and it closes, let's say in 6 weeks, they would take maybe 3 weeks trying to like figure out doing due diligence and things like that, and another 2 weeks to actually maybe like another week or two to do the webinar and let people wire their funds. They only give them like maximum 2 weeks of time, because longer actually tend to drag out the process and makes people think too much as well. That's what some of the other people who has done it a few times mentioned. I wonder what your experiences are, guys. Like, what is your process from your own deal, or anything that worked for you, Eddie?
Yeah, but I think 2 weeks is just not enough. I don't think 2 weeks is enough time.
Yeah.
not when you're raising 4 million, 5 million, and let's not even talk about 10 million. You think 2 weeks is enough time to raise capital? I don't know. I
Well,
may be wrong, but
mhm.
I just don't think that's enough time.
Missy, are you talking about the time to raise capital or the time you give an investor to commit?
uh, the time you're giving investors to commit, I think, to actually do it, like from the webinar to actually you tell them, you prep them ahead of time, but from webinar to actually like wire the funds and stuff, maybe 2 weeks. But you tell them way ahead of time via emails and things like that, and having one-on-one individual calls and talk about it. But because you want to give them the sense of urgency when it comes, because otherwise people tend to drag out. I see Eddie nodding. I wonder if Eddie have something to share.
Yeah, you're raising right now, aren't you, Eddie?
Hey, y'all. Yeah, I definitely have something to share. So for sure, I mean, you hit the nail on the head on that, Macy. Like the lead time, I definitely learned that on this one. I wouldn't be in my first like large raise. All the family and friends had to raise 1.1 million, but we fully subscribed and we had a waiting list, and we have people we had to actually turn back at the end. But definitely that lead time. If I could do it again, I would try to get the webinar out sooner, to give investors a lot more time to actually get their ducks in a row. Because I had like IRA investors that were coming in with like traditional IRA, and then you had to transition that over to self-directed, which is like a whole process. So I had someone that committed for my first webinar, and we weren't able to get funds in until after the second webinar, like probably like a few weeks before close, just because of that. So like definitely, like trying to get a lot of the webinar stuff out the way, to give people time to actually subscribe to the deal, not like a 2-week window.
Okay. So you prefer longer. Okay.
But yeah, still a lot to learn. I mean, this is a small raise. I'm not talking like a $5 million or $10 million raise. So it may work different on like a smaller deal like what I did, which is a 48 unit versus like a larger complex. So
Yeah, but you did it all by yourself, so that's still pretty good.
well, I had partners. I'm not going to take all the credit. So I definitely
Okay.
partners that helped me out with the raise, but as far as like the webinar presentation and all that kind of stuff, and that was like a first for me.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I was gonna, if there's nothing else, we could go through the Hunter Thompson book, on the part about the webinars and stuff. Actually, do you guys have anything else you want to share?
Well, the conference discussion was useful for me. So maybe we can create a list of what you guys consider the top conferences. I'll openly admit I know nothing about real estate conferences, but we want to get into real estate conferences. Maybe sponsor it for Avestor and still kind of formulating a marketing strategy. So,
Yeah.
what do you guys think are the top real estate conferences and why? Or I mean, I don't know if that's a question applicable to this group, or I don't mind doing it offline, whatever.
Yeah, maybe we can do it offline on the Slack, because I think you probably need more than our input. You can do like an upvote, having people upvote on certain things, because there is poll options.
Okay.
Yeah, we can give you a few options, and you can have people vote on it if you want. People can type in the chat. Because talking about experiences, like everyone could probably talk for 10 minutes.
Is the general intent to network with other sponsors, or is it you actually find high net worth passive investors as well in these conferences?
I think both, but mostly sponsors.
Mostly
I'm going
sponsors.
to for me mostly sponsors. But I heard people who also found investors as well. Because sometimes, very few times, you also found sponsors who want to invest as well. They're also investing passively. But I'm also going to other events to find passive investors. I'm not relying on those. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll take this to Slack. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm typing the ones that I'm going. So, So it's good. I have this in the drive. It's good for us to go back to some of the stuff. We've gone over educational content on commercial real estate syndication and capital raisers compensation, and talking about how to create a perfect real estate investment team and the due diligence you want to do on the team, on the operators. And we talked about activating an investor database. So for those who are raising, maybe good to take a look at that one. I was talking to Mark over the weekend, and he was asking about how to do some of the things, and I referred to him to some of the things mentioned here. We talk about building a brand. Now we're on chapter 5, not chapter 5, but like section 5, whereas chapter 8, create a professional executive summary. So that was the follow-up from last time, talking about automations in the emails. So when it comes to creating a professional executive summary, we're going to cover the structure, how to convert the summary into a webinar, and tips for conducting the presentation. So the structure has, we probably are familiar with it. We'll start with disclaimer, investment overview, strategy, investment thesis, investment highlights, financials, FAQs, case studies, and meet the team. I think this is a very good complete list of things. So start with a disclaimer, basically saying that no investment can or should be made based on execution presentation alone. Can only be made by reviewing and execution of the operating agreements or PPM. So investment overview, you should cover asset class, investment strategy, if it's a development, value add, stabilize, how much is being raised, hold period, what's the market like, what's the waterfall structure like, annual cash flow, returns, distribution timing, and minimum investment. And then in the strategy, explain how your business plan will be executed, how value will be created, and how to capitalize on the value creation, like purchase management assets, raise rents, decrease expenses, and sell. And presentation really makes a difference. In the last conference, Trevor and I, we were in Ultimate Partnering. I think there were maybe one deal that might have been good, but because the presentation just wasn't as put together, and also you can see the passion of that person towards that property too, how much conviction that person has towards that property. It really shows, and it's very affectionate. So really spent time practicing over it as a team and together, and fine-tune the slides. I think that's where 1 hour spent will generate great investment to you. And also when it comes to if you guys have any comments, feel free to share. When it comes to constructions and things like that, one thing I think we need to be careful with some of these vertically integrated companies who has construction managed company, for example. We need to make sure they go through a compliant bidding process, and they need to disclose that to the investors. Because I've heard, I don't know if it's rumors or if it's true, but some operators in Dallas that they have construction companies, and they would, have really high construction costs, and investors don't get returns. Then they make construction management fees, and also, which is included in the PPM, but a lot of money was spent in the construction, but the investors didn't really get much returns. It could be multiple scenarios, but if investors don't think that your interest is aligned with them, you may be just always awarding business to your own construction companies, and you don't have a process in place to do that. I think you can lose investors' trust pretty fast. And then on number 4, investment thesis. What makes the thesis so compelling? Take action now. Kind of the urgency factor. Include economic market data. Present with a sense of urgency. I know Eddie does a really good job with that on his webinar. I remember.
Thank you.
So, yeah. And just tell others why other firms have not taken advantage of this type of opportunity, but will soon. Like, we found this opportunity off market, and et cetera, et cetera. Investment highlights. Highlight the favorable market advantages by providing by the operating partner, downside protection of the investment vehicle, favorable waterfall, and alignment of interest. So think about who you're speaking to, what are their concerns and worry, rather than just putting and dumping a bunch of facts in there. And also anticipate what your investor may find most interesting or important, and keep emphasizing on that. And then number 6 is to go over the financials. Goal is to provide opportunities, projections, and perform a clearly outline, from rent income to returns, kind of how it gets to that. And I think I'm a numbers person, and to me, it's really important to highlight the key assumptions and explain why they're conservative, achievable to deliver. I've seen presentations, they just say this is the return we're projecting. But what's your key assumptions? How do you stress test on your vacancies? So the more information you give the investors, especially if they're first time investing, the more sense of comfort they will feel. So number 7 is FAQs, just address the functional transactional questions. You can actually write them in the presentation, and just follow up individually after. I saw people who write it in the presentation, and I saw people who just answer it live. And I also saw people, they just don't do a webinar. They just send out literally kind of email about it, and then they have a Google survey to take intake questions, and people follow up via emails. If it's something, once you get to that point, you feel like it's so small of a raise, there's no need for a webinar, you can do that too. Yeah, or you can just have them submit via survey to best address it by the right person. So some of the questions are usually like, when does my preferred return start to accrue? When can I expect my first distribution? When can I invest through? Can I invest through my self-directed RA? How will the offering utilize debt financing? Can I sell my shares before offering is liquidated? Anything basically you think the investor base may find interesting or important. I think it's important to use a webinar instead of a regular Zoom meeting, and to answer questions live, respect everyone's time if the questions are already being answered, and or submit questions via Google Docs. Because when the meetings drag on really long, I think it's starting, the enthusiasm start dying down for me at least. Yeah, and also if you do the webinar, people don't really know how many people are there exactly. So for some reason, you only have like 5 people there. You don't really want to be like, well, thank you so much. I've advertised for like 2 weeks and there's only 5 people showing up. You can still act as you have a big audience, and you can have prepared questions. So and then case studies. I think investors really appreciate things like case study. Include 2 case study of similar profiles. Assure investors you have your team has success with this type of business plan with those profiles, and what proof of concept has been established. Include photos and names. The more transparent you are, the more likely you're able to raise easier. And then meet the team. Give each team member 150 to 200 words time to introduce themselves. Focus on highlighting the business accomplishments they have achieved, and particularly related to the offering. And then it also talks about your executive summary. That's what YES is for. I did this a while ago. I don't really remember what it stands for. The YES also look nothing but short of spectacular. I think it's always good to overdo on those things than under, just thinking about like return on investment. So they recommend getting a graphic designer or something who can create a deck in PPT or Keynotes or some popular presentation software. I found Canva to be really helpful, so I've been using that to do all my marketing materials, and it's like $15 a month. I use it on so many things.
You can also use
you have
slides. You could use it for your webinar slides. That's what I use for mine. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, well, they had a great presentation. Yeah, I use that for many things, our promotional materials and presentation as well. I'm starting to use that. It didn't before. So yeah, so spend the money. 1,000. Just think bigger. 1,000 is just 0.01% of $1 million. Bad graphic design you're offering can be the reason you're struggling to raise capital. So he has some templates in his website if you want to take a look. And the next part is talking about how to turn your executive summary into a webinar presentation. So what we talked about before was just still kind of the executive summary where you'll send out kind of maybe the email template whatsoever. But on the webinar, he recommended putting team first immediately after the disclaimer, because you want, the jockey versus the horse. You want to put the jockey first and keep investors' attention, and pull up each point as you speak using animation, some of the basic PowerPoint etiquette. Don't draw attention to animation with like several spins on the PowerPoint, things like that. He actually recommended keeping the presentation under 30 minutes, excluding Q&A. It's a good amount for attention span. Typo here. And last slide should be Q&A with the headshot, branding of the company, and taking the Q&A with a bunch of, rather than just taking Q&A with a bunch of info about what the offering is about. So make it professional. Some of the tips he provided was have a systematic process for handle invitations, RSVPs, declines, Q&A. Think long term. Practice with mastery in mind. Instead of simply record yourself, take notes, analyze the recording, and find ways to make it better, punchier, more compelling, and give presentation in front of others for feedback. Ask your friends and family. And also from a capital raising standpoint, if you're raising for other operators deal, I think it's also okay to kind of redo the presentation a little bit, because some people's presentation I don't completely feel like they're speaking the complete story. So I can maybe redo the slides a little bit with their permission. So sorry, one past. And tip 3 is make absolutely sure the sound quality is top notch. The last thing we want is, what is that? Can you say that again? In the 30-minute presentation, make absolutely sure the sound quality is top notch, and schedule a 15-minute sound check and get a good speaker. He recommended a speaker. It's some things I'm going to get. I don't know about the specific one because I'm also doing podcasts soon. And get I think the one of those filters, because so it doesn't like makes those noise, to improve listeners' experience. Encourage others to ask questions and have a good questions as a backup if nobody speaks up. And pre-draft emails to send webinar links off for those who weren't able to make it and those who want to listen to it again. That's why sometimes you see people like sending out emails right away after the webinar, because they have it ready to go. And number 6, always send the recorded webinar no matter if they reviewed the slides or reviewed the email. Just always send it to them. That's it. The action item is to encourage you to develop a template for your executive summary. We'll go to the website that I mentioned earlier to find one. Just have something kind of ready to go already. So when you have a deal, you don't have to like try to search for everything, figure out the flow and things like that. Have an idea exactly what you're looking for. So when the deal comes through, you're gonna be a little bit faster in raising capital. Yeah. So any thoughts?
On changing the executive summary to the webinar presentation, have you seen a lot of people like use the webinar presentation as like a I don't think I'm phrasing this right, but like as a business plan? So like when they have their subscription documents, they just have like the PDFs, or is it like a separate document like the business plan, if that makes sense?
I'm not following. You're saying like, do they take the PPT as a business plan in the subscription documents?
Yeah. What I'm saying, like, can a webinar presentation double as like a professional business plan that you're trying to show to your investors? Can you use it one and the same, or should you have to create a separate business plan to include in your documents?
Well, I'll answer from my,
Yeah,
Trevor, please. Yeah, you have.
You definitely
you
don't
can.
want to present a business plan at a webinar. That's way too detailed. So what you do is the webinar is an overview, big picture view of what you're going to do. Then you add other information in the appendix. So for example, even ours, anybody who was there, we knew. So we didn't even do our introductory slides. We put them in the filler at the bottom of what we emailed out later. And then people will ask questions based on what they want to know. some people wanted to see everything, including our underwriting. Other people wanted some other different, and then you provide that information moving forward.
Okay, got you. Thank you.
You definitely don't want to get in the weeds because you'll lose a lot of people.
Yeah, like I think that Misi was saying it earlier, trying to limit it to like 30 minutes before the Q&A instead of like trying to go through a whole like business plan.
Yeah. And again, there's a fine balance. We went really quick and a few people appreciated we went really quick and a few people thought we left out some important stuff. So who knows, right? Everybody has it. But when I attend a webinar and it's an hour and a half, and they get into the weeds, I'm long gone doing something else.
I got you. So you think like around 30 minutes is kind of like the sweet spot?
Well, so our thing was to try to present for 40 minutes, then do Q&A. That was our goal. We ended up at 42 minutes, which was pretty good on our goal. And the whole concept is you're in and out less than an hour.
Gotcha. Okay, I love it. Thank you.
I've only done one, so I'm far from an expert, but I've watched a ton. And all the ones that go way too long or get in the weeds lose me every single time. Now I do have squirrel and shiny object syndrome, so I'm, and then if you want to know the details, you can find them out.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
I would agree with that from a time standpoint. And one presenter I saw, they did their webinar presentation and they kept it high level, and they said, okay, we've shared all the high level stuff. For those of you that are interested in more detail, stick around. The rest of you, if you've had enough info, here's your next steps. And then they went into a bunch of the weeds. And so it was kind of interesting seeing the presenter acknowledge both personality types and give them that choice. Another thing that, is sitting through a lot of these as a LP, in sort of the questions and the feelings you have, sometimes it's difficult to really understand what the structure is, and sometimes some of that, like the waterfall or whatever, they are not really clear about. And I think once an LP understands some of the basic functionality, if the presenter's not being clear, they're going to think, oh, what are they not telling us? What are they hiding? And if the waterfall, at whatever goes to something else, goes from 80-20 or 70-30 to 50-50, just tell us, it's okay. Tell the investor, nobody's going to have a hard time with that if people are upfront about it. But when they're not being clear about that, then it makes everything suspect.
So quick question. So what do you think is like the balance between like not going in super detail about like a sophisticated waterfall and still providing like the information that someone would need to move forward on an investment? Because do you think like just having like a slide that has everything broken down and then just telling them like what the returns are and like if you want details we can provide them, or actually taking the time to like go through and explain what everything means?
Yeah, I guess if it's a super complicated structure, it would be difficult to go through it all. And maybe that's a lesson in and of itself, is keep it fairly simple so that an investor can quickly grasp what it is. What I found is that when I'm like, okay, I need to put some money somewhere, I've got 4 opportunities. I want to be able to have that initial presentation where I go through it, understand the whole thing and pay attention to the details. And then when I go back and say, well, which one of these should I do? I want that high level to be able to just say, oh yeah, I already have confidence in the project as a whole because it's one that I've saved, to come back to. And now remind me again, what were the high levels? What's the equity multiple, the IRR, the time period? Is there going to be a refi? Some of those high level. So maybe you need to do both so that when someone goes back to it, they can quickly remind themselves why they like the deal, shall we say.
Gotcha.
Cool. Yeah, that was all I had planned. Just wanted to get together and see. Do you guys have anything else to talk about? Well, one thing that I would be curious getting thoughts in is how do you best get ready for a conference? That's the other thing I can think about for those that's going to conferences. Well, either in this month or next month. Just
For me, like I'm just like business card holders. I mean, I'm just just things that I always like bring when I'm going like and traveling. Like a reliable like business card holder. I usually like to set up like just an Excel sheet for the conference with some fields like first name, last names, and like comments or notes. You know, so as I'm meeting these people, I'm not just collecting business cards and letting them pile up on me. I usually like to take, you know, like times, you know, when you in the hotel room or like before you get out to network to try to fill in some so it isn't so cumbersome like when you're trying to just do it all at once post conference. You know, just I mean that's just what came to mind.
One thing that I really need to get better at is the follow-up after a convention. I'm trying to find like a VA to do things. So I have this big stack of business cards that I haven't emailed yet. And every day I sit here, now it's like 2 weeks. There's Chris with his from, I did Old Capital one already. So that one I got lucky, but you know, and then I got to enter him in a database. And then it's like, that's my weakness, man. I got to get some system VA, some way to get this done better, and then create a template email for the event that says, I was glad to meet you. Thanks for your time. Here's my link to my calendar. Because I'm just drowning in minutia.
Have you tried, Mergo is like a, I think it's an add-on to like Google Sheets. I think it would definitely help you out. Like, you know, once you have all of these people that you've met in an Excel sheet, you can use that same sheet and like use Mergo campaign, and then you can like send a template email out to everyone. So like the last conference I went to, that's what I did. And it, you know, it's not like a really like personal message, but it's just like a general like, hey, we met at this conference. Here's my Calendly, and here's what I do. I think that may help.
So one thing I would get a CRM. That's my, you know, very first recommendation, or like an email automation. And then the second thing is what Eddie said, just get an Excel. You know, as soon as you know, at the end of the day, you get to go back to your hotel room, just type out the name and, you know, their phone number and email in that spreadsheet. And that's it. At the end of the weekend or whatever, just import that to your CRM, and you're automatically sending out a pre-existing kind of automated 5 email chain to those people. Now you don't have to worry about anything other than just putting them in Excel, because you can import your Excel into your CRM.
yeah.
You know, sorry,
ahead.
Missy, go ahead.
Hamad, you're not sending people the whole campaign email, right? Are you?
Yeah,
like, if they haven't subscribed.
No, but the thing is, they gave you the card and they gave you the email. I'm not sending them saying, hey, invest with me. I'm saying, hey, you know, it was nice meeting you at this event. Let's reconnect. You know, let's set up a one-on-one Zoom. Then another 4 days later, say, hey, I didn't hear back from you. You know, I just want to make sure you got my message. Here's my, you know, let's set up a time to connect. And the sooner you do that after meeting them, the better. Because, you know, I think everyone knows here, or for those that don't, I put it into my CRM a year later. So from time to time now, I do, like, I send out an email on Monday. I'm still getting people unsubscribing, or, you know, unsubscribing with the, I never gave this, because they don't remember me. Right? Yeah, large majority of them aren't doing that. But if you get them in right away, now I already have all the system set up now. Now, when I meet someone, I throw them in there right away. And then, you know, they remember me. Yeah, we met over the weekend or whatever. And then they're higher chance that they're going to set up a meeting with you.
Yeah.
Right. And automation is fine, because in the automation, sorry, Daryl, just one more thing I want to add, because it will, in your Excel, you keep a list of their name and also which event you met them at. So what I do with mine is, hey, you know, hi, first name. It was great meeting you at this event. Right. I love to follow up or talk further, and here's my Calendly link. Let's set up a quick connect, half-hour call to get to know each other a little better. So you're not selling them anything. You're just following up on a conversation you already had. And that's where if you have them in the chain, it's fine. If they don't answer at all, I just leave them in there, and then they can unsubscribe in the future. I'll send them my newsletter and everything after those list of five chain emails, basically.
Now, and Trevor, to save yourself some time with those business cards, Apple, Android has excellent apps where you can take a picture of that business card and it will upload directly to your phone. So now when you get back to your room, all you have to do is download the list in Excel and upload to your CRM. That's it.
Yeah, I've tried that. It's not 100% working very well because they got this business cards in all sorts of designs. Like I had my husband doing all this. He literally manually typed everything because it was impossible to scan it correctly.
Yeah, and I suffer from old man syndrome. I'm not very techie. And, and it's so super frustrating. I mean, I'm sitting here trying to build my PowerPoint for Missy's, and I even suck at PowerPoint. That's how untechy I am. It's frustrating.
I'm speaking from a prior life in the corporate world, having attended and talked at multiple conferences. I don't understand how a CRM can help you build individual relationships. I mean, maybe real estate is different. Sending the same standard email, I would get annoyed if somebody sends me a standard email which says, blah, 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 nice to meet you, blah, blah, and here is my template. I don't know. Am I missing something here?
Yeah, so I mean, that's the whole point. You're personalizing it, right? When I send them the email, it's, hey, it was great meeting you at the specific event we met at. I'm not sending, hey, it was nice to meet you and let's connect. I'm sending them more personalized. It's saying, hey, how are you doing? It was great seeing you. And it's actually saying the name of the event, right? And since you've just actually met them face to face because they handed you the card, they'll remember you. And then they say, hey, yeah, let's connect. So it's a more personalized email. I'm not, saying, hey, your hair color was this, eye color was this, or anything, but it's still personalized enough where it doesn't sound like a template.
Yeah. And it's your first touch too, Matt, right? So it's like you're just having that first touch so people can,
yeah.
And you're still going in and establishing those meaningful relationships through like calling them, trying to schedule Calendly calls, but like this is just that first touch, so it's like the law limited, like I think limited, like, okay, when you just leave in a conference, that's what's first of mind. And then you leave the conference and then life hits. And then now you have to worry about the kids or worry about your second job or whatever like that. So now it's like you're kind of forgetting that, and it's not as important versus like you straight fresh off a conference, you have an email coming out and now you're remembering this person. They're fresh in your mind. So it may be easier to connect.
I would say just do it right away, like the Monday or Tuesdays, get that email out right away. That way they still remember you. Again, for me, the way the email is written, it doesn't sound generic per se, right? And that's about it, because you're personalizing it with their name and where you met and everything.
Okay.
And to Eddie's point, it's your first touch, right? So you can always do other things to follow up, give them a call afterwards or something along those lines.
100%. But it's just like if your first means of communication is trying to like cold call like a whole list, is probably more it's more a momentous feat to do that versus like just sending out a blast email. Now you got your first touch out the way, then you can start getting like individual calls with folks, like prioritizing based off of who you connected with the best out of the group. I don't know if that makes sense.
The one thing that helped me out, because a lot of time I meet people at conferences, I have a bunch of cards, I still may not remember your face. So I've learned to put my picture underneath my signature.
It's huge.
Yeah,
and that way I know you'll remember me because I'm not going to remember you if I have a stack of cards like this, I'm like, oh man, who is Missy again?
And the other thing I would recommend also is get your picture on your business card.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a major key right
Yeah, I
there.
just did all that on my card, my signature, because again, it was the same thing. Who in the world was this? Oh, and I remember a face way better than I remember a name.
They're starting to do like I don't know if you saw like the, what do they call it? You know, this the thing you scan on your phone, like a QR code. Like they have like this thing now where you could put that on a business card, and then you could scan that, and it would give like all your social media information. I haven't tried it yet, but like I met someone who had it. It was pretty cool. It was
Yeah, I'm gonna add that in as well. I would highly recommend everyone else do the same thing. You have your picture on one side and QR code on the other side. I've seen and talked to a lot of people that have that, and it's great because you can just while you're talking, you can get them to kind of just scan it, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, it's hi, hello. That's what I used. It has that. And I wanted to ask you guys, how do you deal with multiple avatars in your target, in your capital raising, or just in general? Because I have two avatars. One is busy professionals. The other one's Asian investors. They're kind of different but similar at the same time. How do you guys deal with those differences in terms of branding messages, and or even on your educational platform? How do you I don't really want to call it multifamily for Asian investors and like busy professionals feel left out. How do you guys do those?
Okay, I'll just say something. I mean, like for me, like I just use my name as like my personal brand, and it's kind of unique. Like I have my syndication company under like one logo, and it's just like kind of easy. I just use my last name. But I don't know. I mean, your was coming first, right? So Missy's was coming first, right? So I feel as though having a strong like personal brand, where you can use that on your various platforms is hugely important. But I don't really know. I mean, that's just my advice.
Yeah, I've heard people who said that. For me, I want to make sure it's targeted towards the investor. So, like, from their perspective, they're the hero of the story. I feel like if I put me, it is my brand, but I'm like so self-centered. That's what I feel like. I don't want to be that. But there are people who have done that really successfully, though.
it's I think you need a kind of a middle approach. You need to be able to talk about your experiences, but tie them into it. That, I'm primarily on LinkedIn, and that's where I've seen the most engagement and the views and stuff is when I kind of talk about my experience, but I tie in to other people's pain points.
Mm.
If I talk just about business, there's little to no engagement and very minimal views. But if you talk about your experience, not about yourself, but your experience and how it ties into them, I think that's where I've seen the most kind of engagement. And
having an emotional side to the story. It's not just about closing on a deal. It's like the challenges you overcame to get to that. Right.
And I'll tell you right now, don't worry about how much engagement you're getting on LinkedIn and stuff. I've had over the past month, more than a few people telling me, hey, I'm following you on LinkedIn. I'm like, I've never even seen you before. And they're having a conversation because they don't want to be publicly posting stuff, right? But they're still looking at your views and posts and everything. So
another thing I would say too, if you guys aren't really utilizing it on social media, the story feature, I think they took it off of LinkedIn, but I think that's huge. Like the story feature on like Facebook, Instagram, like those things are where you can like share, the inside or the back office of like your business and day to day. I think that's very huge. Like I have people that follow me and like hundreds of views on the stories. So it's just easier to communicate with them. Like when you're talking to them about business, like,
even LinkedIn is bringing something back, not the same as they had before. I don't know the details of it, but they're bringing that component back in a different way. I don't know what that means or anything, but video and stories is definitely huge. I don't know I don't know if anyone is already doing that, but I love to, you know, learn a little bit more about it if anyone is, because I'm looking to start up something in January, but I would love to get like a video editor that takes the video that it's going to be a guest speaker half hour and then half hour Q&A, and use that, put it on YouTube, and then also take snippets for stories and stuff like that.
Yeah. What would be the name of your channel then? Would it be for doctors or?
No. So I created a group in Facebook and LinkedIn. They're both the exact same name, and it's hands-off investment, prosperity wealth strategies for busy professionals is what it's called. So what I did was I have, I think, 130 people in there now. I started it last week. And I just went on my contacts and invited like 500 people, and out of that, the 130 joined. And now I can go bring in more people and send them messages and say, hey, I saw your profile. I think it'd be a good fit for my group. Hey, join up type thing. So I'm trying to get the group to hopefully 500 by January. That way, when I get the speaker in, I can say, hey, look, listen, we have a large group. I'd love to have you in here. And I have like few contacts that I know will, at least 5 or 6 of them, if not more, that I know will do it regardless. So.
Awesome. Anything else before we close the call?
Yeah, I got a question. I'm going so I had got a call. I want to ask this question earlier, but so when you guys go into a conference, is it anything that you bring besides cards? Somebody might have answered it, but I was on a phone call.
QR code.
QR code?
The QR code. Because that way you can get them to scan on their phones rather than just you. I mean, you do both, do the card and even have the QR code on your card as well. I think that's the only other thing we touched on. Yeah, I would say anything that makes you stand out and memorable.
The app too, like on Hamad's point, like if you use the Hi Hello app, it has a QR code thing built in. So when you're like exchanging information, you could just have someone scan that over to you. So just tying on that point.
Yeah, I was thinking about, well, I mean, have like a business card. I was thinking like a one pager too, like a small like one pager that I can get to somebody, not a little bit bigger than a little bit bigger than the card, but not a page. You know what I'm saying? Like with something small that you can, I was thinking about that. So.
What about logoed shirts like this, but not Corvette? Company name.
I'm definitely doing that. And I'm also thinking about doing like, I think we all know about Jim's story about what he did with wanting to be a KP, wore a t-shirt.
Yeah.
So we're doing something along those lines and having a t-shirt with my logo and everything, but also, saying something about capital raising.
Yeah, we were thinking of doing the logo shirts. I don't know if we can get it done. We probably can for the next conference we're going to.
Mine's Feb, so I got a little bit of time.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. Feel free to stay on if you want to. I'm gonna send somebody else if you're staying.
I gotta get moving.
Yeah, but otherwise, see you guys next time. If you have any topics you want to, let me know.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, BC.
There, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.